What we understand the physicists put together is a circular cylinder of unknown height. When the fields are interacting, something's formed there, a third derivative. It seems to make things weightless, and they either just simply are weightless or they float.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes they have a propulsion to them, where they actually go up so fast they hit the ceiling. Other times these things will move sideways. So that's indication of some type of force at play there.
What is interesting and also frustrating about his invention is that he's using a combination of Tesla coil and Van de Graaff to produce very disruptive and lifting experiments, which in one case, for example, actually lifts a 19-pound bushing toward the ceiling just from electromagnetic fields. Now, when we analyze that, we find that there's position versus time graph that we can plot, and also the velocity versus time. But when we actually analyze the acceleration versus time, it's an increasing straight line. So we're forced as scientists to admit that we have a third derivative effect, which, for my mind, actually lends itself to an anomalous new force, which I call hyperforce, because we have to take a derivative of that to finally get a flat, straight line, a constantly increasing acceleration. So the Hutchison effect has been used as a benchmark for a comparison to many other high-voltage propulsion devices. Electrogravity, in other words.
He has in this time achieved a breakthrough in anti-gravity knowledge, providing spectacular examples of heavy objects flying through the air without any visible signs of propulsion.
That was a 19-pound bushing.
He's also made amazing discoveries concerning the alteration of compositions of materials by subjecting them to a form of electromagnetic bombardment.
And besides the disruptive aspect of these field effects is also the lifting aspect, the acceleration aspect. The 19-pound bushing that you saw lifting off essentially has been analyzed. Excuse me. And what you see is a frame-by-frame picture of that from the top downward as it accelerates upward. I think the most interesting part of this is that as we look at the actual height of the bushing from the table and then plot the information, the position versus time, we see that the velocity is increasing. Now, normally in physics, since I taught physics, I know that, and you should know also if you've taken some of the introductory courses, that when you have an increasing acceleration, increasing velocity, you normally have constant acceleration. F equals ma is describing a constant force. But the strange and very unusual and also very precise aspect of this is that here we're looking at a graph that details the acceleration of that 19-pound bushing, and what we're looking at is a linearly increasing acceleration. That physically has not been seen on this world. You actually have to increase the force and also linearly increase the force. And if we take a slope of this, then we'd see that it's a constant. But we don't even know what to call that because it's a third derivative effect. Acceleration is only a second derivative. What we're looking at here is a third derivative effect. I can only term it hyperacceleration. And we also have to take into account that this phenomenon was occurring in the gravitational field of the Earth. We're providing a second derivative effect downward. In other words, there's a force actually normally opposing such motion upward. That's why when you see the Saturn V booster take the shuttle up into the air, it's starting very slowly, and it accelerates very slowly. Most things, when they accelerate straight upward, do accelerate very slowly. We've never seen this type of rapidly increasing acceleration to the point that we only have a few frames of this phenomenon. So this will eventually be written up as a scientific discovery, and the documentation basically is the equipment that Hutchison still possesses. And it can be reproduced, and as you saw, many different objects have been accelerated in a similar fashion, hyper-accelerated, to say. So what I'm proposing here, and this has been shown in the video as well as in the analysis, is that we have a new force here that's essentially been created by high AC electric voltage in the presence of high DC voltage. So it's almost looking at a very high voltage transformer antenna, but also providing the static potential. So what we were looking at as far as electrostatic motors are only half the picture. When you provide a little bit of disruptive alternating current, then that's where we see these effects.
The following is the 19-pound bushing levitation footage from the 1980s.
Apex staying in one spot. And out of all the things that they demonstrate, this is the one, that wedge is the one that really interests me the most. Now this object, see, it just lifted off of those supposedly.
I have plotted George Hathaway's original time and position measurements of the 19-pound bushing levitation video. I've also plotted the trend line via Microsoft Excel as a cubic function, and it has a r-squared value of 1 or 100%. The r-squared value, or coefficient of determination, measures the variation between the trend line and data points. It is generally defined as 1 minus the ratio of residual sum of squares to the total sum of squares. The residual sum of squares is the sum of squares of differences between each data point and its predicted value via the trend line. The total sum of squares is the sum of squares of the difference between each data point and the mean value or average value of all the data points. The values are squared so that negative variations become positive and thus don't cancel out with positive variations. The closer the r-squared value is to 1 or 100%, the better the data fits the trend line. The velocity, acceleration, and jolt of the 19-pound bushing is plotted in two ways. The first method is calculated directly for each interval between the data points. The second method is calculated as derivatives of the earlier position trend line. The velocity graph is shown. The calculated results have a similar shape to the derivative of the position trend line. Note that both results show the velocity increasing rapidly. The acceleration results are plotted. Note that both sets of data points show a linearly increasing acceleration. The jolt or rate change of acceleration results are shown. Since the position trend line used a cubic function, the third derivative and thus the jolt yields a constant value. The calculated results directly from the data points show a linearly increasing jolt. The variation in the calculated results is likely due to the difficulty in calculating third derivative effects from just a few frames, and with one of those frames being the initial frame where all the values are 0. Nonetheless, the last two data points are very close to the trend-line derived results. I will analyze many more Hutchison Effect levitation footage in later videos, so stay tuned.